Hello everyone and welcome back to another Universe Sandbox video, and today we can be doing another episode of making a solar system around the smallest star. So, where we left off, we finished up with the moons around this gas giant over here. So yeah, EBLMH, or Epsilon as it was originally known. We've got 4 moons around it, sort of inspired by Jupiter's 4 Galilean moons. So we finished off with that, and we also looked back into the centre of the system, landed on one of the objects, and we just had a little look around. So for instance, if we do it again, actually get a little recap, what has happened to Io here? That does look rather strange. Something with its texture seems to have gone rather funny there, but yeah, let's have a little look. So if we turn off all the orbits and labels, land down on the surface, that's quite a cool image of the star doing that. Let's see if we can spot any of our neighbouring planets. So if we look around, and we should be able to see one. There's one over there, so that's EBLMC. Any more in range? We can see EBLME. We've got F over there. Anything else? If we put labels on, maybe that'll help us spot some. So we've got Epsilon over there. So that's actually the furthest planet out from the star as of the present moment. So you can still see that, which is really, really cool. See, that is the cool thing with red dwarfs. The planets are fairly close together, so you can see a lot of them in the sky quite easily. So we've got EBLMD over there. So yeah, not bad. Quite a nice view. So if we have them all switched on now. So yeah, there's all of the orbits. Yeah, looking pretty cool, honestly. So yeah, some of them obviously a lot further out than others. I mean, that one over there, G, you can barely see it, but I'm pretty sure with a telescope, if you're on this object, you probably would be able to spot that quite easily. So, yeah, good, nice little lineup we've got so far. But yeah, what has happened to Io here? That does look rather peculiar, doesn't it? I mean, it looks fine up here, so I think it's just maybe a visual thing. I know you can see a bit of it's gone all funny there. That is rather peculiar, isn't it? So, right, EBLM, that was B. So, yeah, and we also had the hidden brown dwarf chilling out in the outer reaches of the system. And this is obviously quite large. If we compared it to all of the other ones, it's actually larger than the red dwarf itself. It's larger, but less massive. So, this has 85 Jupiters, and the brown dwarf only has 25. So, yeah, so quite a substantial difference if you think about it there. And then we've got our only other gas giant as Epsilon here. And then on down to all of the planets. So we had EBLMF here. I think that was one of the Christmas competition objects. We had EBLME, which was the gas dwarf. That one is definitely a good look. I still really, really like that. And we had Proxima. Actually, I think someone in the comments said actually add some city lights to this one. So yeah, we can actually go ahead and do that. So where are we? City lights, yes please. There you go. Oh yes. Right, what colour are we thinking? I think we should just go for a nice sort of generic bright yellowish shade, maybe just some nice normal city lights chilling on it. So yeah, that was Proxima. And yeah, I remember this one as well. This was a good looking object. So right, let's see, what was its stats? So it had 87 and then a number, apparently. I've never seen that before, but okay, it has a number, so hopefully that's a good number. So yeah, Proxima D there, looking good. Or EBL, it's actually EBLMD now, but yeah, there we are. Right, and then yeah, we had all the other planets. We had some slightly curved orbits, and then we had our gas giant on the edges here. I think this should remain the last planet around the red dwarf. I don't think any planets further out would really work, because we already saw the brown dwarf was trying to upset some of the moons around this one in the previous episode. So I'm thinking any further planets out are going to get interrupted by this gas giant and the brown dwarf. So I'm thinking that's probably not the best idea. So for today's part, so part 2 and probably the finale, we're going to add stuff around the brown dwarf. So what are we thinking here first? Well, the brown dwarf obviously doesn't even have a habitable zone, so it should be quite dark out here. So let's add some objects in. What am I thinking? Brown dwarf, any objects that would be around a brown... I'm thinking maybe just a generic... So I'll use one of the moons, and I'm going to retexture it. So how far... So if I've just put the orbits and zones on. So the red dwarf zone is obviously... That's not really even in here. The brown dwarf doesn't actually have one. So how far am I thinking? I mean, in theory, we could have objects going quite a far distance out there. Maybe they could switch between the 2 stars. But I'm thinking for the first planet, I want it to be quite close. So we're going to use Ganymede, obviously large enough to be a planet. It's larger than Mercury. So we're going to put Ganymede here. And its shadow's actually showing up on the brown dwarf as well, which is quite interesting as well. So yeah, I'm going to go with that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply recolor it. And look how dark it is here as well. I mean, that is obviously very, very dark. Ganymede, yeah, we are going to retexture use. If we go to surface colors, we're going to go to custom. Well, it looks completely different now, but I'm going to make it a very, very reflective world, even though it's quite far out. So yeah, very, very icy cold white reflective. Still got that really weird glitch. I mean, what is that all about? I mean, honestly, that's so weird. So, city lights. We could have like a hidden colony on here or something. So, let's go with white city lights, like a hidden colony base. So, yeah, they'd all be in buildings. I mean, it'd be quite cold to be out on the surface on this guy. And then what we can do to Ganymede simply as well. I wouldn't mind actually sneaking an atmosphere on it. So let's go with we'll have it at one atmosphere pressure. So I want to have a nice little white atmosphere to go with it as well. So yeah, completely specced out white. Yeah, atmosphere. Yeah, there we go. And yeah, white clouds. Why not? Liquid water. Yeah, it's all just going to be completely frozen up. All options set as white. Contrast, we don't want to touch that. I want it to have quite a high albedo. I mean, it's not going to receive much light anyway, but I mean, it's still going to be reflecting quite a lot. So there's Ganymede now added in. Orbital period is only 8 hours, right? Pretty quick. And then rotational period, I'm going to lower that down. It's going to go to about 23 hours, so similar to Mars and Earth. And that should hopefully turn. Well, 23 days. No. We do not want 23 days. We want 23 hours, please. There you go. So input that in, and now Ganymede's turning. Excellent. So, in orbit of the brown dwarf and the red dwarf, or in orbit of the brown dwarf, that's in a binary with the red dwarf, I say, or orbiting the red dwarf. So, let's land down. It's obviously very, very dark here, Ganymede. Very, very cold as well. It's a minus 150 at the moment, but I'm guessing it will probably get a lot colder than that eventually. So, yeah, that would be what the sunrise would look like. So, you got brown dwarf, then red dwarf off in the very far distance. So, already, I mean, quite a cool little parent object there, parent star. I mean, that's probably one of the best looking brown dwarfs for realism I've used in one of these. So, yeah, honestly, pretty cool. I'm liking the way that's looking. And actually, what I'll do as well, let's actually land on the surface so we can actually see the sunrise and sunset. So we've got the main star, obviously, over there. If we look behind us, brown dwarf is not actually in view at the moment. So if we just, click play. So there's our sunset for the red dwarf. So this will be the night time now. We just have to wait for the brown dwarf to show up, I guess. So, go on, where is it? We should be seeing it fairly shortly. Come on. A little faster, maybe. Come on, brown dwarf, where are you? Where is it? Come on. Put labels back on just so we can try and spot it. Got no clue where it is. There it is. Okay. So that would set. Then you've got the main star appearing in the sky as well. Okay. So then the brown dwarf should reappear at some point. There it is. Okay, so that's the brown dwarf sunrise. So we'll just slow down time a bit. So there's your sunrise. I mean, imagine that in the morning sky. So it's not very bright. But, yeah, still quite a substantially large thing in the sky. So if we look up, we should see the main star. So it would actually sort of block out the light from the main star for a brief few hours. So it blocks the main star out. And then the main star would reappear like so. And then if we speed up a little more there, break away, the main star would probably start to set. And then the brown dwarf sets on the other side. So as we can see here, brown dwarf sunset like so. Okay, so that goes and sets. And if we turn back around to where the main star was, wherever that has gone, that probably would have set on the other side. So that was quite cool. So they're setting on different sides. Yeah, I think the main star must have sunset as well. But yeah, enough of me just babbling on. Let's actually continue adding stuff. So yeah, that's Ganymede. So this was EBLMB. So this would be in theory, so I think we'd call it EBLM. I guess EBLMB, lowercase b. I think that's how you would class it. So large B because it's in orbit of the second star, and then lowercase b because it's the first one out from the start. I think that's how you would class those. So yeah, EBLMB looking good. So obviously very far away. So in this part of the system, I don't think any worlds with liquid water would be that realistic at this point. So we could still have a frozen world. Don't get me wrong, but any proper normal liquid water, any objects above 0 degrees, I doubt that's really going to be possible. So yeah, what should we try next? I'm thinking a Mars. I want to try and customize maybe a Mars. I'm going to place it a little further out than Ganymede, so we're going to place it there. So yeah, much larger gap. So right, Mars. So again with you, we are going to make how dark it is here as well. And again, that glitch is still there. That is a very pesky little glitch, that. Right, what we're going to do is surface colors, custom Mars. What we think, it's still got all the surface things there. If we go high elevation, that should be the volcano colors. Yeah, you can see it briefly. I mean, you can't really see it here. If we just go quickly to flashlight mode or studio, that works. So the volcano colors are actually just the high elevation. So we had those as like red. We could have Mars as like a volcanic world almost. I mean, yeah, we could have like some sort of volcanic thing going on. That does look quite cool. What if I change Well, that is a real red planet now, right? If I try medium elevation and then this one is the... No, not really. I mean, it does actually look quite good. I'm not sure. I mean, I do like the wave, but I think the red's a little too much. So, I mean, I could try dimming out the red a bit. I mean, nah, not really a fan. I think the white looks better on the high elevation, to be honest. So, I'll go with that. Now, the lower colours, what are we thinking? I mean, it's still got to be fairly cold and icy. So, I'm thinking maybe... That's a little too much. I think it maybe a sort of mix of the dark and white. So it's sort of got dark areas due to the volcanoes on it, like dried lava, I guess. And obviously they're there. They've got their little ice polar caps on them now. Also got the original polar caps. I don't know. And that weird glitch again, that is really pesky. And also it's still got the surface texture just slightly a big change to it. It's got all the craters and stuff. Yeah, so I'm thinking that. And then atmosphere, I mean, Mars already had one on it, so we should be able to customize that to whatever we want if we go back to realistic mode. I mean, yeah, you can't really see the atmosphere anyway, but we should be able to customize it. So, I mean, it's not really showing up at all now. What we need to buff it maybe? If I go to ATM, if I go 0.6, there you go. You can see the atmosphere did show up a bit more there. And the colour for it, I mean, I'm quite liking the good red haze it has already. So I'm thinking maybe I'll just slightly make it a little more pale. But yeah, I'm thinking something like that. Yeah, why not? It's not often I customise like some of the solar system objects. So this would now be EBLMBC, I think is the way you pull it. So, yep, looking good. Trail colour, it's already got one of those. So, yeah, we'll just leave that the way it is. Right. Looking good. So if we look from Mars' perspective, or what used to be Mars, so again, very, very dark out here. So if we look up, we should see one of our... Actually, I don't know if you'd be able to spot Ganymede very easy because it is quite dark out here. But yeah, that would be the sort of view you'd get from Mars. So you'd have the main star, brown dwarf, both in the sky. The brown dwarf would be moving a lot more than the main star would because we're a lot closer to the brown dwarf. So the main star would set like so, and all the other planets would be visible in the night sky, possibly. And then obviously brown dwarf would also sunset eventually. You could just saw Ganymede's shadow cross it as well. And yeah, there you go. So that would be the brown dwarf. Right, looking good. So what are we thinking next? I'm thinking I do want to try and sneak in two gas giants, possibly. Or maybe a gas giant and an ice giant around EBLM here. So what are we thinking? I wouldn't mind trying Hyper, actually. If I want to see what this would look like. So I'm going to place this over here. I mean, how far out can we go? I mean, yeah, we can have quite a large range. I'm going to place it there. So it's, yeah, obviously a little closer to the original red dwarf. And a brown dwarf, obviously, we're creeping a little further away now. So this is Hyper, right? So remember, this object, for anyone who's not seen it before, this one has a gas giant texture on a rocky planet. So that's what it looks like. That is a rocky planet texture. Or a rocky planet underneath. But yeah, it looks like a gas giant just due to some modifications in the game code for this object. So you can still have the atmosphere and the cloud features on it, even though it's got the gas giant texture, which is really cool. So it's still got the green. I do want to change the green to something else. So I'm just thinking, it does have a yellow tint on it, this as well. So we can't have a light blue or anything, and blues don't work. If you put a yellow tint on something, the blues, you can't really show up on with blue colours. So what if I try changing the surface colour itself? I mean, can I customise that? Surface colours custom. Yes, okay, I think this is how we did it. Does that work? Oh no, that did that. I think I remember it doing that before. So it still looks, quite cool actually. So I'm gonna go with almost like a Uranus sort of shade, a very pale light blue, something like that. Obviously cloud colour. What are we thinking? I mean, darker blue, a lighter blue. Yeah, I'm thinking just very, very colourful ones there. Okay, so that's what it looks like now. So it's still very, very dark here. But I mean, if we look on normal mode, just to get a better look at it, that's what we're building at the moment. And I wish we could sort of make it slightly tilted like Uranus as well. I'm not going to make it completely like Uranus, but I'm going to have it a little more than a tilt that Saturn would have. So in between Saturn and Uranus tilt. Obviously, it's got the clouds, got the gas giant texture underneath, making the pale colour look quite good with the clouds, actually. I'm liking it. Atmosphere colour, obviously we can give that a slight change if we want. So what are we thinking? That red does look awesome, but yeah, it doesn't really fit. I'll go with the light blue haze. Why not? Yeah, I'm liking it. What do you think of that? And one thing you can do with these as well, if we really want to go extreme, city lights should function on this. So let's try that. Just out of curiosity. So realistic mode. Do they show up? I'm not sure if they will. Lights. It has an Earth height map. Always. There you go. So you could have that if you really wanted. Can we have normal lights? Nah, it doesn't look like they're showing up, unfortunately. The normal lights do have quite a weird bug sometimes with objects like this. I mean, we could turn the atmosphere and clouds off. Yeah, they're still not showing up. I mean, look how similar it looks to Uranus with the clouds and stuff off it. And you still got that weird, annoying glitch, but yeah. Obviously, you put that all back on. You can't see it as easy, but yeah, I'm liking it. So that would be Hyper. Obviously, we'd need to rename it. So that's in orbit of EBLM. So this would be... I'm going to put this as EBLM B. I'm going to put this as D. Oh, no, I'm going to put this as E. I want to sneak another object in between C and E. Because we need to put... I'm going to put a D in between there. So there it is there. Looking good. So obviously slightly closer to the original red dwarf. Furthest object out from the brown dwarf so far. So if we have a look on the higher cloud layers of this guy. So there's your brown dwarf in the sky. So yeah, the brown dwarf obviously a lot smaller here than it is on the other two planets closer to it. So if we've got labels on, you can see where the other ones are. I'm really liking the way this looks like. The real pale sort of gas giant sort of look. But yeah, with the atmosphere on it as well. So brown dwarf sunset. There's the main star. So as the brown dwarf set there, the main star sort of raised, which is pretty cool. So you can see the clouds. If you look carefully, you can see the clouds sort of. Yeah, there's a good view of them. So now we're in the daylight side. You can see the clouds flying as well. Look at that. Hey, that's pretty cool. So we've got the modded sort of gas giant there. I'm really liking the way that turns out. That hyper object's a good template for making objects like that. Good stuff. Okay, pleased with that. Right, so where do I want to go? Yeah, I do want to try and sneak in another object in between Hyper, or what used to be Hyper, and that was Mars. So, what are we thinking? Oh, I'm thinking, actually, this could be quite interesting. So, I've got one of my Planet Guy's custom Neptunes here. I'm thinking I'm going to try and use that. That one had the dark spot on it. I'm thinking if I remove some of the bands, I could be able to make a completely whole different object with it. So, I'm going to use that as a template later on. So, don't want to forget about that. Just trying to think. Any other object we could try and sneak in between C and E. So, I do want to put something in. What about LP12? I think I've used this one before, and I think this was quite a good template. So, what does this look like? Where'd it go? Right. There it is. Okay. Oh, it was this one. I remember this. Yes. Obviously, first thing we need to do, though, lights need to be if hackable. And that I completely got rid of them. What's that all about? Come on. Oh, no, we want it always. No, I clicked the wrong button. What am I doing? That's what we want. Yes. Right. So, what does this object... So, if we just... I want to customize it with the normal lighting so we can actually see what we're doing. Okay, so that's what it looks like at the moment. So, yeah, it's just got a blacked out surface. That's what was confusing me. Right. Let's see here. So what colors? So it's got the cool yellow lights. Now this object, I'm thinking, I think I used it as a volcano world before. I kind of want to try a ice version of it, because obviously we're in around a dwarf. What about a very, very light, pale, icy sort of object? So I'm trying to, let's see what this comes out as. Obviously clouds need to be different color. What if I go with a nice light blue sort of clouds? Like something like, yeah, what about that? And then atmosphere. So the atmosphere appears as green, so I think this does have a tint on it, or it is slightly more green than it should be. So if I make that darker blue, yeah, I'm guessing this has a yellow tint on it, because that's why the city lights were so enhanced. We can have a normal sort of bluish shade, or what about just a pale blue, reddish atmosphere? No, yellow does look really good, I think. I mean, that does look nice, but yeah, I want to keep it as ice giant looking as possible, or ice world looking as possible. So I'm going to go with a nice, just sort of pale blue. Nothing too extreme. Cloud colour, still a little too much for me. I'm going to make it a darker shade of blue. Maybe a little more, yeah, like that. And then city light colour, right. Light cyan, does that work? Okay, because it is tinted, it's going to be quite hard to customise those lights. So, what are we thinking? What sort of colours can we use? We can have red. So shades of blue are completely out of the question. You can see they don't work, which is kind of annoying, don't get me wrong, because I did want to have like bright light blue shade. What about white? Yeah, so yeah, it's definitely tinted yellow, because white, this would normally be white, but yeah, yellow tint on it. I mean, the yellow lights do still look pretty cool. They do look pretty monstrous as red. Actually, those could be, instead of being city lights, those could in theory be volcanoes. And this is all of the, yeah, I'm going to go with that. So this is going to be a volcanic world like it was before. So in that regard, I'm going to re-customize. We're going to have quite a dark sort of surface, a volcanic sort of rocky looking surface. So what if we try it now on studio? Okay, so it's still looking, it still does look fairly barren. So then that means I can actually redo the atmosphere again. So in theory, I could have the yellow toxic atmosphere, but I'm going to make it a little more pale yellow. It's almost like a Venus atmosphere. Cloud color I want to have as a, could have like a sort of reddish, paley reddish shade. So the volcanic ash clouds. It's still going to be quite a cold object, but it can be cold and hot with the volcanoes. I mean, if you look at, say, Io, for instance, Io is very volcanic, but still the surface would be, in theory, still very cold there. So that's what we're going to sort of roll with this. We're sort of taking Io as inspiration. I guess you could put a bit of Triton in there as well. So maybe a mix between Io and Triton. What about that? So liquid water, I don't care about that. Cloud color, atmosphere, no, that's fine. So it's all about the surface. See, that's too much for me. So if I try, yeah, I think it looks better like this. Then maybe just to pale it down a bit. And actually, I could try going for like a slightly brownish sort of colour on the surface. I still want it to be like greyish brown. Okay, so volcanic. You can see the volcanoes at night time, obviously. Daytime, I mean, it's still going to be quite dark, but yeah, I'm liking the way that's looking. I want to close that off quickly. I would like to disable the atmosphere and stuff, please. That's what it's like underneath. So does that fit the volcanic theme, you think? It's pretty cool how the lights disappear and reappear on the top there. So there's a good view of it. So I'm just thinking, does it look a little boring though? I want to try and see that. That does look quite good actually. Oh, okay, so we could really have a good change with this. Yeah, I'm thinking something like that. So it's got all the dark areas where, obviously, volcanic activity, dark and rock areas. There's actually a little bit of water on it. What's that all about? Look at that. Ah, but who says it has to be water? This could be another sort of liquid of some kind. So why don't we go with some sort of fantasy sort of acid or something? So that does look a little too much, doesn't it? Right. I mean, obviously, if I click play, that obviously needs to settle, doesn't it? But some sort of reddish... I mean, kind of like the space engine objects. It's still got that really weird patch on it. But what about some of the space engine objects with that reddish ocean? I mean, I do want to dim. I don't want it being all over the place. I just want little patches of it spread around the surface with the volcano. So this is a sort of... This could represent some sort of volcanic liquid, some sort of infested water with volcanic materials, something like that. Polluted water. I mean, yeah, maybe one day or at one point this object was a nice water world, still with volcanoes and stuff, but maybe it got thrown out in the system, got caught by the brown dwarf, and then the water just got polluted more and more and more, I guess, maybe. I mean, I'm sure you guys would think of some good backstories. I know a lot of you like doing that for your own objects, but I'm thinking maybe I think the red's still a little too bright. I do want to maybe just dim it down a bit, so yeah, sort of like a light pinkish shade to it. It still is like some sort of water that's not exactly the sort of water you'd want to drink, so yeah, definitely some water there. Okay, yeah, I'm liking it. I think that gives a little more personality to it. So yeah, atmosphere obviously back on. Got the clouds, the volcanic clouds. The clouds actually match the water spot on there. Liking that. The atmosphere, maybe we could try readjusting it to a different shade. What about... I mean, that looks amazing, but I think it's a little too much. So maybe more palish, sort of reddish pale. Yes. Yeah. Oh, I'm liking it. I'm going to roll that. So I'll see if I go back to realistic. Oh, yes. Look how it looks now. Oh, that's looking good. I'm loving that. Right. What I'd like to do as well, I kind of want to change the city lights, maybe. Got a nice, huge chunk of it. I mean, this one's light shut really well because it's been enhanced, so... Yeah, this is all volcanic activity, remember? So, yeah, it's not actually cities we're using for this. So, these represent volcanic activity. Glowing hot rock coming out of the core of the object. So, I do want to try and get a nice spread of it in the middle, though. So, something like that? No? A little more? Come on, I want to try and get a nice chunk in the middle. Come on. Well, it is quite hard getting the lights you want sometimes. Come on, let's get a big chunk. No, come on, a little more. I'm not going to keep clicking this forever. I don't want to move on, so... Oh, I'm really liking the way it looks there with those lights. Those really, really look cool. Alright, I'll just leave it at that. I mean, it's still a nice big chunk, isn't it? So, I mean, we can always just slightly do that if we really want. Yeah, why not? So, yeah, that's looking good. That's a beast. That looks a beast. So, yeah, very volcanically active here. Definitely the biggest volcanic object in this system, no doubt. So, interface, we give you a bright red. Why not? Now, obviously we need to rename it. So we're going to go EBLM. This would now be D. Oh, no, this would be capital B and then lowercase d like that. Cool. Right, so then we have E. We already have E implemented. So, yeah, closer in, we've got obviously the two icy-like worlds. We've got the Mars. I guess that could be a volcanically dead world, but this one is still very much alive, volcanically active. It's got an atmosphere going. And then we've got the ice giant object further out. So how large is this thing actually? So it's only, so if we look at radius, I mean Jupiter, 0.1 Jupiter. So how large is that compared to say Uranus or Neptune? That's the sort of size I want to do it. So yeah, it's not even Planet 9 size. So yeah, that needs to be made bigger. So how large is? It's annoying how they measure it in Earths instead of kilometers now. So right, let's go back to kilometers. Okay, so yeah, that's way off the pace of Neptune. So double it up. That's more Neptune sort of size, Uranus Neptune size. So yeah, I think that works. It's a slightly smaller ice giant because that inferior is what it is. 36 Earths of mass. That should be completely fine, chilling in the outer areas of our brown dwarf over here. Okay, good. Now, last object around the brown dwarf, I want to have a full-on gas giant, maybe a Jupiter in mass. I don't know if it'd be able to hold, but definitely something around the size of Saturn, maybe. So. And yeah, the object I wanted to use for that was the custom Neptune over here. So I'm going to place that in for now. Obviously, we need to be careful it doesn't get interrupted by that. So dark spot Neptune, even further out than EBLMC. Down here, looks a beast as always. And it's got that dark spot that follows you around where your camera is with negative contrast or negative light or something. So there it is. Now, what I want to do with you, obviously we need to recustomize the bands. So it's obviously got too much for my liking at the moment, so we're going to just spam click this. I do want to lower the bands, so you can probably hear some intense clicking action going. I don't know how many this has, so I'm just going to keep clicking. I mean, has that even made a dent in it? I mean, oh, the game has froze. Come on, no, yeah. Still quite a lot of bands, so yeah, I'm going to need to click this for a while, guys. So yeah, I will see you once I have lowered the bands. Okay everyone, so I had a different idea. Instead of just clicking the button about 1,000 times, I thought I'd just take the object out of the game completely. I just opened its file, just deleted a bunch of the bands. So I'm hoping when I spawn it in now, it will have a lot less than it does there. So let's actually give it a shot now. So I saved it as EBLM. Right, so here it is here. So if I place it in, it should be less banded. So let's open and have a look. Right. Appearance. Yeah, there you go. So it saves me having to click about a bazillion times on this one, trying to get rid of all of those. So we can go ahead and delete that one now. So yeah, quick little trip to the game file. So that's got that sorted. So we'll just delete those. Right, auto orbit. So that should still be comfortably orbiting. I think its trail is blacked out. Yep. So let's quickly go ahead and just customize it again. So we'll just go with a nice shade of blue. Oh, okay. So right, this is the problem I didn't want to see. So we need to obviously get back around the brown dwarf, so you can see it's starting to break away from the brown dwarf. This is the furthest the brown dwarf can go, roughly, is here. But the brown dwarf's not even fully at its closest point yet, so we do need to be careful. We do not put these too far away. So in that case, then I'll just simply make them smaller in the orbits. So for instance, EBLMD here, we can obviously half this orbit straight down to do that. This guy, we can do the same. So 1.35 months, it takes 21 days. And then this one, we can probably half it as well. There you go. So just quickly miniaturize all the orbits. So click play. They should all comfortably orbit in there still. There's a huge gap between Ganymede and Mars, so we can still probably half Mars again, actually. So, yeah, that's fine. We can probably lower our volcanic world as well down. We'll quickly, a little bit bigger. There you go. And then the two gas objects will be further out. So I'm going to quickly throw a save in before things go crazy, in case they do. So let's go ahead and just do that. Okay. Looking good. So, very nice indeed. Excellent. Right, so back to this object now. So we can actually get to the customizing bit now. So I can just go ahead and remove the rest of the bands in game here. I mean, there's not too many, so we can just go ahead and do that. So it's still got the dark spot effect, which is looking good. So it's still got that sweet shade of blue on it. And yeah, we could just simply go ahead and do that. So all the way down back to 1 band. So if we do it now, any colour we want. What we're thinking. Okay, that looks pretty crazy. Negative contrast in the darkness. See, that colour can be anything we want. Any shade. I mean, it goes well with the blue there, but it can work with any shade. So I'm trying to think maybe a normal sort of gas giant colour. So very sort of pale, sort of Saturn-like colour. So something like that. So I'm just going to, yeah, we're going to go ahead, add some in. Maybe we could make like a little Jupiter replica or something like that. So I'll start off with a strong colour there. We'll work in a strong colour downwards as well. Yeah, I'm just gonna put them all to oranges, like pale shades of oranges and yellows right now. So normal sort of gas giant shades. So sort of Jupiter and Saturn like. I've never really built a Jupiter or Saturn sort of replica actually. So this will be first time sort of doing it. So usually I'd go for ice giants, but it's not often I'd go for like a normal gas giant. So yeah, those colours do need reworking. Obviously, this is just a rough drawing, I guess, of the final outcome. So yeah, I mean that colour's way too strong. So we're gonna obviously need to work our way around those. But I do want to try and have the 2 sort of big bands like Jupiter would have. So we'll just see how that looks. Try and work out which band is which. So again, pale shades, normal gas giant colours. Trying to get them a little better. Okay, so that's what we've got now. It's obviously still got the cool dark sort of spot trail on it. So looking at the 2 bands, I can sort of spot this area here. No, that's a little too much. Okay, so a little higher up then. Okay, what about this one? Okay, so I'm going to go with somewhere there. So I'm going to have that as a dark sort of orange just for now. And then this colour over here, that's still too high. What about this one? No, that's still too close. This one maybe? Okay, so yeah, I'm going to make that one more intense. So as you can see, now I've got sort of 2 sort of big bands like normal Jupiter would have. So now, also I just need to fade out the rest of the colours. Try and make them as gas giant looking as possible without making it look too crazy. So yeah, I want to be just sort of pale shades of yellow and orange. I think more orange-like than yellow-like looks better. So something like this. I mean, obviously I'm not going to dedicate hours and hours like some people do for their objects. So we're just going to go over a rough example, just a nice little one. Yes, okay. Let's have the sort of whitish bands now. So yeah, right. That's fine. Maybe like a whiter band. We'll have a few like white bands in there, sort of mix it up a bit. So that's a little too much though. This one will make you a little more orange. Yes, okay. Yeah, I'm liking it. That dark red band does look good, but yeah, I do want to still replace it. In the north area up here, we're going to sort of change that up a bit. So sort of paler shades up here. Got a nice sort of mix of colours going in there with the big band on it. So yeah, I'm really liking the way this has come along so far actually. I'm going to have a few whiter bands around the big orange band maybe. Something like that. And then the second orange band. Okay, now I need to just try and get these 2 the same colour. So what, I mean, we could have 2 big white bands for instance. I mean, there you go. What about that? I mean, that straight up, that doesn't look too shabby. I mean, you can sort of see the Jupiter inspiration. I mean, we can compare it to the original Jupiter actually, just as an inspiration. So, Jupiter, the original. I don't even have the original one in here. There we go. Right, original Jupiter looks like that. So yeah, take a look at its 2 big bands. We've obviously got this brown band here, and then the second large brown band above it. So this one here. And then it's got like the white bits in between. So that's sort of what I've gone with here. But I mean, obviously the colours are slightly more enhanced. But I think overall, that doesn't look too shabby. I mean, it's got a nice sort of mix of colours. It's got the sort of dark spot feature on it as well. The negative contrast. Honestly, not too bad little replica of Jupiter. I mean, it's a normal sort of gas giant shade as well. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with that. I mean, yeah, obviously nothing insane. It's not any record-breaking bands or crazy colours or anything like that. We're just going with a nice, simple gas giant replica. Or just gas giant inspired objects. So like that, I do just want to still just maybe pale out some of the shades, but overall I'm quite pleased with that. I mean, I could still go with like the sort of darker shades for these 2 colours here, but I mean, honestly, I mean, I don't think it needs them. I mean, I could try a sort of more orangey shades, I guess. I mean, slightly more intense oranges, so dim it out a bit, dim that one out a bit, maybe something like that. Yeah, a little more dim there. I mean, yeah, not too bad. I think the orange is still a little too much. I think I did like the way the white looked, honestly. I think the white did look quite good, honestly. I mean, yeah, I want to go with that. So we'll remove that one now. Back to this one. There is still like a light yellowish shade at the top. I don't like the way that looks. So I think it's this shade here. Yeah, I don't want that. That yellow does look really cool, though. So, yeah. I'm really, really happy with the way this has turned out. So, we could have like another sort of orangey band at the top there. Or maybe I could just make that a bright white. And then maybe down at the bottom we could try and sneak in another white band as well. So somewhere... No, that's still a little too... this one? Yeah. So we've got, 4 like large white bands. There it says the 4th one at the bottom. But yeah, I'm generally pleased with the way that's turned out. I think that looks good. Just try and get those colours a little worked out, but yeah, what do you think of that? I'm very, very pleased with that. I think that looks really good. Let me know your feedback in the comments, but yeah. And then now all I need to simply do is I'm going to lock the mass at around 17, but I do want to make the radius. Let's try and go 0.3, 0.7. That's a fairly respectable size, I'd say. The mass is still the same. I'm just going to use the lock feature just to make things easier. We'll go over sort of Jupiter-Saturn-like sort of shape. But yeah, that's our sort of Jupiter-Saturn gas giant in this system. So EBLMF looking very sweet. Right, so now all we need to simply do is just compare it to the rest of the system. So where is it? Slots in there. So it's larger than our other ice giant. So that was Epsilon. And then we got our smaller ice giant over here. I mean, this is still Neptune-sized. So we've got a few different ranges of size. It's almost as large as the original star, actually, this guy. So that's very respectable size. I mean, this guy, in theory, is a little too large for an ice giant. But yeah, that's good. And obviously, down onto the planets, we've got, a nice list of, all of them. I think that is a very nicely put together system with all of these in there. Every object's unique. There's our volcanic object again next to the sulfur gas dwarf there. Looking very good indeed. Yeah, I'm very happy with that gas giant. Yeah, I will actually save that. I'll use that as a template for future objects, actually. So put it in there. Replace. Thank you very much. Yes. Right, so now if we open the menu up. So EBLM. Where custom. Oh, it still has the it's still got the where'd it go? Hey, did it update? EBLM? There you go, it's updated now. There you go. So now we got a copy of it. Sweet. It's a nice little modified version there. Yeah, not too shabby. A nice little build. Happy with that. So that should now comfortably orbit around our brown dwarf without any problems. So we can speed things up a little bit. Just checking everything's going. Actually, speaking of checking up on things, how's our moons doing? Yep, from last episode, they seem perfectly comfortable. You can see the orbit is slightly wobbling, but yeah, that's perfectly fine. So hopefully that 4th moon will keep its promise and stay where it is. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I think we've got a very nicely put together system here. So yeah, looking good. I just hope that brown dwarf orbit doesn't eventually ruin this one's orbit. I mean, this one could break away from the main star. I mean, we could always make it a little closer, I guess. But yeah, on the whole, I'm very pleased with the way that's looking. Honestly, I think that is a nice little binary star system there. So I'm gonna pause it there, and that is where we're gonna finish off for today's episode, guys. So I think the next episode, and actually probably the last episode now, I think it's moons, possibly rings. I think if we're adding rings to anything, it's got to be. I think a ring around this would look very stunning. So I mean, as a quick rough example, we'll quickly try and sneak a Saturn ring around it. So yeah, I'm not going to keep these permanent, but is that around there? Can we select the object? No, you got to select it before you open the menu now. Okay, so something like that. I think that does actually look quite good, doesn't it? Yeah, those rings would have to be adjusted, but yeah, that's just a little rough example of it. Honestly, that does look really good. So actually, yeah, but before we finish off, we'll have a little quick peek on realistic mode to see and how this object actually looks on realistic mode. So realistic, normal gas giant, obviously very dark. But yeah, definitely a cool sight. So obviously furthest object out from the brown dwarf. Have a little look on the surface, or the higher cloud layers, I should say. It's a gas giant, brown dwarf, and red dwarf. So yeah, quite cool little image in the sky there. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. Nice. So orbits, labels, yeah. Says our 2 objects. So yeah, the brown dwarf system, not as large as the main star, obviously, but yeah. Very happy with the way that has turned out. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode as well. And yeah, any feedback, moons, any moon ideas I could add for some of these objects, let me know down below in the comments. Yeah, really hope you enjoyed part 2. And yeah, a lot of you enjoyed the first one. So yeah, hopefully you enjoy this one a lot as well. And yeah, huge thank you for everyone who watched the first one, everyone who supported it, liked it. Huge thank you. Let's see if we can go for a target of, let's try and go for 60 likes. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, make sure to press that like button. Let's see if we can break the target of 60 likes. That would be absolutely stunning. Again, a huge thank you to everyone for watching this video today as well. And yeah, guys, make sure you have a great day. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.